Last week, we saw just how powerful human design can be, how it boosts confidence, clarifies your path, and makes business and family flow with so much more ease. But this week, it's all about you. With our expert guide, Brianna Anderson, you'll learn how to get your chart, decode it, and actually use it to step into the most aligned, elevated version of yourself. And if you're ready to go deeper, Brianna's links are waiting for you in the description. So let's shift out of hustle and into harmony. Let's get started.
Okay, so today's class, I'm really excited to teach you. We're going to go through the embodiment from hustle to harmony. So raise your hand if you're experiencing hustle, if you're experiencing burnout, if you're experiencing frustration, perhaps maybe even bitterness and a little bit of anger. Have you ever had thoughts of, why am I not there yet? Or maybe sometimes you compare because naturally you look at what you want and you're seeing the gap or you're seeing the deficit. And so with that in mind, today's class, I want to take you from hustle into harmony and help you understand there is a way that you can authentically create that isn't masked by needing to prove or needing to validate your human experience in an unhealthy way. So human design, just for those who need the basics or the concepts, is really going to allow you to understand that you as a human, you have a design. That's as simple as it gets. And when you understand yourself, it's really easy to have more harmony and, of course, compassion. But then you start to understand that your operation system is able to work with others. And you start to understand that collaboration is really easy if you understand the mechanics behind yourself and then the mechanics of the other. So harmony is when we're able to come together and there's resonance because you're allowed to be sovereign and whole and the other person is allowed to be themselves as well, right? So human design teaches authenticity is the fastest path to success because you don't have to try to be yourself. You're just not in a world that constantly reflects that who you are is already enough. And you don't have the permission that you seek sometimes to say, success is doing things your way. That's my biggest belief is success is when you're allowed to get there on your own terms based on your own design and your own gifts. So let's go. So I'm going to have you do two things before I teach you. I'm going to have you download the Human Design app. Okay. So Human Design, I'm going to beautifully use this. Can you see it well? Okay. So I'm going to have you download the Human Design app. And I like to use the blue one in the App Store for multiple reasons because Human Design is a system. So you're learning the system of you. And the Human Design app, once you download it, will require that you get your birth time and you'll need your city and you'll also need your birth date. So it's going to take that information and pull up what looks like a beautiful picture. And some of you are like, what the hell am I looking at? And let's see. Perfect. Thank you. So we're going to look at our Human Design body graph. To keep this really simple for you and why this matters for you is when you understand what this tells you, you can start to create harmony and change your approach to your success based on who you are. So I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of high achieving women, a lot of corporate individuals. And the first thing that I teach them is usually their aura type. So at the top of the app, you'll see this word. Now that might say generator, that might say manifesting generator, that might say a manifestor, that might say projector, and it might say a reflector. So there are 5 different types. And as I teach you this and why it matters to you, I really want you to think about how you are approaching your life right now. Because as I teach this to you, I'm going to give you permission to drop all of the rules, all of the complexities of what you think you have to do because a different type does it differently. Does that make sense? Okay, so we've got our generators. So if you're a generator, hands up. This is an interactive training. Don't fall asleep at the wheel. So generators are here to really respond to what comes into their environment. So I want you to imagine that a generator is here to find passion and find fulfillment by crossing off the T's and dotting the I's. So generators, you are here for mastery. But here's the trick you didn't know. The reason you're experiencing burnout and unfulfillment is because you're crossing the T's and dotting the I's. You're operating within your system, But you forgot one nuance. That mastery is specific to your fulfillment. So a lot of us will wake up in the morning fully charged of energy, and then we don't even think about, often, I'm a generator myself, if the task we're completing in mastery is actually even a task we want to do in the first place, right? So this is the first point of understanding. As a generator, if it does not add to your joy, if the thing you're doing does not generate joy to come back to you, it's a soul's no. That's it. It is a soul's no. Because generators, you have to understand that you are here to generate literal good vibrations into this world. Like, imagine, what does a generator do? Like, actually, right? Take that same concept. We're gonna actually look at it, instead of generating heat, we're gonna generate buzz and excitement and passion and fulfillment. But again, that comes with mastery. So I want you to write down on your piece of paper, if I'm a generator, I'm here to master my craft. I'm allowed to slow down. So generators, on one hand, you have so much energy that you don't know what to do with. So you just do anything and everything. But you haven't really honed in on, what T's do I want to cross off? What I's do I want to dot, right? So the best way I can explain this to you is that when you generate more joy, when you genuinely believe that what you're doing can lift the collective just by your happiness, by your ability to build things that really bring us more fulfillment, everyone wins, okay? Have you ever been around someone who's like an Energizer bunny? And they're like, let's go. Like, that feels so good. And if you didn't believe in human design, you wouldn't actually be studying energy. Energy does not lie, right? You walk into a place, and if it feels yucky, you can probably assume it's because it's yucky. So when I teach human design, I say, if it feels like bullshit, if it feels like non-truth, it's because it's not true. So please listen to these basics before reading online, because human design is not a box. It's actually the way to get out of the box. That's the best way to say that. So generators, I want to make sure you're seeing this. Up here, it tells you what type you are. So the first line in the app tells you what type you are. Type just means, what is my aura? So generators, you have a wide open aura. So the first principle that you need to start mastering is, what boundaries do I put in place to protect my fulfillment, to protect my joy? Because you do have a lot of energy, and it's a wide open field. It's wide open. The openness naturally communicates to the universe, hello, I'm open for miracles. But if you don't decide what those things are, then anything and everyone comes in. We don't want that. So we want to start to eliminate, and just write down on your paper, this does not bring me joy, but I'm doing it because I think I have to. I'm saying yes when I mean no, because I know that I can get it done, right? So we're going to check on some things that don't feel good anymore. Now, let me tune in. You need to know your aura is open. Let's start there. So then we have what's called a manifesting generator. And a manifesting generator is very similar in aura type to the generator. So again, at the top, you'll see manifesting generator. Here's the nuance. Manifesting generators, you have a wide open aura, like freaking wide open, okay? So online, they'll teach you that they are the same, but I like to divide them, because the aura type is wide open, but you operate different than your generator friends. So let me put it to you this way. Manifesting generators, you love to skip steps. You love to go from step 1 to step 27 to, oh shoot, we forgot step 7. Who's going to fill in gap step 14? That is your way of operation. So if I gave you a symbol, you are literally the bouncy ball. So when you bounce a ball and it's told to bounce in the same spot, the bouncy ball knows better, right? Gravity is going to take it against the wall, and then it's going to go into the kitchen, and then it's going to go down the stairs maybe. That bouncy ball needs enough creativity and enough expansion to go where it wants to, when it wants to. So manifesting generators, you have a wide open aura. The nuance here, though, is one thing. Generators are here to cross off the T's and dot the I's and master their craft. So you're both filled with so much creativity and wide openness. But manifesting generators, you are not driven by mastery. So I need to slow down when I say that, because a lot of manifesting generators think that they have ADHD. They think that they cannot complete tasks. They don't think that they are focused. So tell me if you're experiencing any of that, whether it's entrepreneurship or even in your family. Where is it that you believe that you should hold yourself back because you're comparing yourself perhaps to a generator? You've been taught that since school, we do our grades and we get good grades and then we cross off one task at a time. Not true for you. Literally not true. Mind blower. You don't have to actually do anything that feels like it's holding you back. Okay, so as a manifesting generator, you are driven by expansion. Expansion, expansion, expansion. So could you imagine if a generator like a manifesting generator like yourself, could you imagine if you were given permission for the first time ever to just freaking go as fast as you want to and not complete the tasks because you don't want to? Like, imagine a world where someone sat you down, manifesting generators, and said, listen, this world is going to try to tell you that you got to get the grades perfect. You got to just nail every little thing that you do. That's not true. So, manifesting generators, here is your permission. Please know that you are driven and internally motivated by expansion and not mastery. Why is it important to know all 5 types and not just pay attention to yourself? Because you have a spouse that is probably a different type than you are. You have kids that are probably a different type than you are. Your boss, your CEO, that guy that rubs you wrong, they probably have a different aura type than you do. And if you're not aware of that, then you're somehow thinking that you're wrong. So myself as a generator, if I'm working with manifesting generators, I know my rhythm is going to be slower than their rhythm because I care and value mastery where they might value expansion. So now we're looking at what we value, and we'll get to that more. So the best thing I can tell you, manifesting generators, is you're not crazy, you don't have ADHD, and you're not losing your shit. But you do need to have more creative projects than one. Most depression from manifesting generators comes because they're not actually rotating enough plates. They need to have more bouncy balls. They need to have more than the permission they've been given. Generators, it's not that you can't manage those plates, but you're going to start to notice you don't feel as good about your self-esteem if you're not completing the tasks with all of your devotion because you know where the plates are starting to drop. Now, we are going to talk about authorities in just a little while, but I want to really hone in on the fact that we're not designed to respond the same. So our generator friends are here to respond to what comes into their world. The manifesting generator is going to then inform the next thing they're acting upon. So manifesting generators, you'll notice that when you do not use your voice and you do not tell people what you are up to, when your communication is not delivered, you will notice that your results in your entrepreneurship, your business, your relationships, even your health, you will notice that things start to feel off and not balanced simply because, think about this. If you are designed to go from step 1 to step 7 to maybe step 27 and then back to step 3, if you're not informing people on your process and how you operate and where you're going next, who the heck is going to fill in the gaps? That's on you, right? And I say that so cleanly because we're designed to work together. And generators, you are responsible for saying yes to what brings you joy and no to what does not. Manifesting generators, that also applies to you, but you need to start getting really clear on your strategy for success. The way out of hustle, if I'm being really clear with you, is to start using your voice more, not less. Because if you are able to give a voice to all of the creative things you're doing and let your partner know that you're dropping the ball on this thing to go pursue that thing, then you have a lot more support. You're not doing things alone. And every one of us could probably use a little more support. Would you agree? Okay, so far you have your human design. Let's make sure this is on. You have the app pulled up. You're looking at this thing and you're going, that's a lot. And I'm saying, I know, but first we got to start with permission. Your aura just wants permission to operate in its natural way, its natural abilities. And when you have that permission, you'll start to feel more homeostasis within your body because now you're no longer making yourself wrong. So the next we have up here at the top, we're still talking about our 5 types, the way our auras are designed. So far, both types have an open aura, generator and manifesting generator. The next one is what we call a manifestor. So my manifestor friends, pause, raise your hand right now if you are one. You are literally with a closed aura. So what does closed aura mean? Does it mean no one likes you? Does it mean you don't belong? Does it mean that you don't feel like you fit in? Because those are usually the feelings that a manifestor feels in the beginning until they have permission to understand how they were designed. So I like to look at this as a point of possibility, not a limitation. So manifestors, your aura, the reason it is so important to know that your aura is closed is because the way I see it, it's like a filter. So if someone wants to come into your world and they energetically feel like they can't just come in, that's a healthy boundary. But because no one's explained it to you, you feel like you're constantly repelling people, and you feel like maybe you're not like inclined to get invitations because your aura is saying I'm not available or I'm not open to that. So I want you to really think about the possibilities here. Why would a closed aura serve you? It would serve you because you're not open and available to the things that most of society is. So I'm going to invite you to see yourself a different way. Manifestor, if you look at the actual words, they give us a lot of keys on how the aura wants to operate without any confusion. So a generator is going to generate heat. It can generate the things that we actually need, right? So what do you want to generate? As a manifestor, we all spend so many hours studying manifestation, do we not? Like, if you are not raising your hand, you're lying, because all of the self-improvement and the self-help studies show we're all trying to better ourselves so that we can have everything that we've ever wanted, period. So manifestors, you just didn't know that your aura is actually closed because you don't have to go through 20 steps to decide what you do like and you don't like. It's almost like God or the universe, whatever you believe in, naturally designed you to have the ability to get out of jail free card like Monopoly. You don't have to play the board game. You can literally just play the game your way. Your strategy is to inform. So that's really important. What does inform mean? Well, inform means you're actually the one telling the collective, you're telling our generator friends, I'm doing this. This is the next inspiration. This is my path. This is where I'm going. Follow me or not. And I'm not open to asking how you feel about it. So the way I see manifestors is they're really sovereign in who they are, but you have to be okay with the fact that you really do have a closed aura and see where that serves you. Just like generators, you have to see where an open door serves you. Manifestors, where does a closed door serve you, right? Because what I haven't said yet, and I feel like I'm backpedaling, but it's because I'm crossing my T's and dotting my I's, is that generators and manifesting generators are here to and are literally fulfilled by the feeling of fulfillment. So if you don't feel fulfilled in your life and you're waiting for the money or the success to get you that, it's probably a good thing to learn your design so that you can self-generate that feeling and then put off a different vibration to the world. Manifestors, you have a different response. Your point of attraction isn't about fulfillment. At the end of the day, when you lay your head on a pillow, you're going, oh, I feel so peaceful. Peace is actually what you want. You want peace more than you want any amount of number in your bank account, more than you want to lose the weight. Now, hear me out. I know that some of you are disagreeing with that, but if you could operate in peace your entire life, no matter what, add that part, no matter what, you would start to trust the energy of your field. So now, why would a closed door serve you? Because a closed door protects your peace. You have to understand how they go together. So when you Google this online, it will tell you a whole bunch of stuff. I'm only telling you what matters to help you see it as a point of expansion instead of contraction. So when you're a manifestor and you're like, oh, wow, I don't feel like I belong to the rest of the 50% of this world. That's valid. You are 9% of the world, manifestors. And the betterment of that is, again, it's protecting your peace to have a closed aura. Generators, you are here to have fulfillment. So isn't it a good idea to have an open field so that you can say yes to all the opportunities that are knocking on your door? So that's how I'm going to invite you to see that. Manifestors, please use your voice. Please use your voice, whether it's with boundaries, whether it's with telling people where you're going. I want to tell you that whether you're a manifesting generator or a manifestor, you both share the need to use your voice. So manifestor or manifesting generator, the reason you're using your voice is not just for you. It's for other people around you. So manifestors, when you inform your family what you're up to and what your plans are and what you're doing, You're not asking permission. That's not what that means. It's actually a leadership skill. So if you're in entrepreneurship and you're not using your voice, I'm going to show you where you can enhance your leadership skills. What it does for the rest of the team, what it does for the rest of the family, what it does to your coworkers is it puts them at peace to know that you're not just leaving ship, but this is where you're going. So that the other people, the other 50% of the collective, can choose to go with you or not. But a lot of human design is trying to help us synthesize and harmonize how to work better together as a collective. This is so much bigger than you. So when you choose to stay in your lane, what you're really saying yes to is I choose to be me, I choose to lead, I choose to inform, and I trust as a manifestor. Here's the one-liner that you need. Your energy may not always feel consistent. And you need to know that because as a manifestor, you might get big creative energy just pouring in and then for weeks not want to do anything. That is very intentional. Okay, so I want you to write down on your little sheet of paper why you feel okay now, knowing that about yourself, that it's okay to take breaks after creation shows up. Generators are not going to relate to that at all. They're going to wake up and they're going to want to hum and drum and do all the things that make them feel good. Manifestors, you're like, I would love a nap. And that's perfectly okay. We're not all designed to be turned on and operating like a freaking machinery. We're here to find our rhythm and our coherence to what feels good to us. We could all probably use some more breaks and more peace in our life. So generators really look up to manifestors, and manifestors show us the reflection of how much more peace is available when we're not always doing. And generators are reflecting to the collective how good it feels when we do choose to use our life force for ourselves. It is a force. That's why it's called life force. But if your life is not in harmony, it's because you're trying to force instead of be with the rhythm of your creative abilities. Okay? So then we have what's called a projector. Same thing. We're at the top. Feels like a lot of information, but I trust you're still here. So projectors, my friends, you guys have a very unique aura. We're all unique, but your aura tends to look like a magnifier. It looks like a raindrop. It's actually very focused in. So when you know that your aura is very focused in, and that's all you knew, it's not closed, it's not necessarily open, but it is penetrating and it is like really focused on the target. That kind of aura is magnetic when it understands what it's here for. So here's what's fun. You'll watch this in the class, or perhaps you're rewatching now. But you'll notice that when I divided everybody into their sections, we all were unconsciously operating like a different type. So it's really important that you watch this first part, because as I talk, I want you to go, wow, maybe I do some of that. Projectors, my friends, you guys are trying way too hard. And I mean, in a genuine way, you are trying way too hard to keep up with the rest of the world. What if your focused aura on the target, what if that focused ability had nothing to do with what you generated and what productivity you added to? What if you were the guide? So I want you to literally think of yourself as the guide. Now, you're not motivated by peace, and I talk about fulfillment, and you might be like, well, maybe. But when I say success, projectors' ears are like Dumbo. They're like full listening, because you crave success, the feeling of success, more than any other type. The reason for that is because you believe once that you are actually a successful person, that you will be seen more. And the reason being seen is so important and vital to you is because there is a part of your soul that knows you see things that nobody else does. So when you have a focused and concentrated field, an energy field that is focused in on something, you will see and pick up things that no one else does. So how important is it that every single person has a coach? I always tell people, and I tell my clients, I don't have a coach because I'm a loser. I have a coach because I'm a badass. Projectors, you are the guide. You are telling people how to play the game better, where to use that life force more efficient, right? You're the person that's like, ooh, you could have done it this way. But here's the problem. Your strategy is to create an invitation. And if you've never heard of this information until today, what I'm about to tell you will change your life if you will implement it. So you have got to start creating an opportunity through your invitation. Online will tell you that you must wait for an invitation. That's incorrect. You must create an invitation. When we do that, and I think we could all benefit from projectors and doing this for ourselves, when you're going to share with someone where they could be better at something, or if you're going to share with someone what you can see and how they could grow, if there's not space to receive your genius, you're going to constantly feel like people are calling you a know-it-all. You're going to feel rejected. You're not going to feel seen, and then you will become bitter. When you become bitter, it's because you're giving out information without creating space in the other person's consciousness or psyche to receive your excellence. So, what if you saw yourself as a guide? What if you saw yourself as a teacher? What if you saw that everything you know is actually valuable, and the only little tweak you needed to make to go from hustle to harmony is saying, hey, may I share something with you? May I share what I see? Can I help you see what I see? Is that okay with you? And when they say yes, you're actually getting an acceptance in what you're about to share, number one, but they're going to see what you shared as literal perceived genius. So your aura is not just focused, but it's actually asking and begging to manage something because it wants to focus on all of the information that was put out there and then how to organize it in the best, most possible. I don't even have words for it. Can you see how big this is? You just know what you know, and you don't have to validate what you know. You just need to share what you know in a more healthy way. That was a lot of words. You just know. So what I invite you to do, write on your piece of paper, how can I see myself as a guide, especially if I'm in business? How can I stop seeing myself as the little guy and stop working myself to death? And how can I start to see myself more clearly? So I actually want all of us to tap on our collarbone, every one of us, because projectors help us do this naturally, but it doesn't mean we can't learn from them now because they need to learn this too. So we're going to tap on our collarbone and say, I see myself. I fully see myself. I see me and I love what I see. And I choose to share my pearls with those that receive them well. Because now you will no longer overshare to be seen. You're trying to meet a need that you yourself need to meet first, okay? So then we have the last and final aura type, which is the reflector. And they're about 1% of the world. Reflectors are really, let's open this up. Again, same line, top line. Reflectors, you literally think about the word and what do you feel and what do you sense when you hear the word reflector? You reflect. And reflection is not a busy hustle, grind it out, figure it out, work all day energy. So most of us operate with the sun, right? Like most of us operate with the circadian of the earth. And reflectors, I want to give you permission to live a different lifestyle completely. Completely. I want you to give yourself permission to work off the rhythms of the moon even more so than you've ever operated with the sun. And here's why. Because the best times of reflection, I mean, we can look at giants throughout history, right? The Albert Einsteins, the people that know great things. It is in their private quietness at 2 or 3 in the morning that they're having this inspiration, they're having this channeled energy. But your ability to reflect on things is going to bring to you the feeling of surprises, the feeling of delight. But you tend to get swooped up in this disappointment energy. And that disappointment energy can come from a lot of places because your field is neither open, neither closed. It's not even a penetrating aura. It's very cyclical by nature. So if you could imagine like 10 different bubbles around you, you got a lot happening. But that field is, I like to think of it as a cyclical field. So it's a very like, we're going to go out and then we're going to return. We're going to go out and then we're going to return. So you sometimes feel disappointed because you don't understand the gift of being 1% of the population. And again, human design applies to the whole world. So whether you're in Asia or Africa or United States, wherever you are, we need someone reflecting back to humanity what's not working and what is working. The reflection process is the only way that we can actually evolve. But the disappointment comes in when you don't understand that not only do you not want to be producing all of the time, not only do you not need just a lot of downtime, but I would encourage you to find an environment that feeds your soul. Otherwise, you're going to feel like you're hiding from the world. So when I say operate with the moon, I don't mean that in a way that you are defective. I mean it quite literally the opposite. You have not got to just protect your peace, and projectors, this applies to you as well. But when you're in an environment that sustains you, you're able to reflect the things you want to. So could you imagine, like, if you were a projector or a reflector, having something in your face that you don't like seeing, and you can't help it because your aura is like so focused and it can't stop reflecting what it sees? I want to give you permission that you're allowed to reflect on only the things you love. Because if no one has told you anything up until this point, you are the coolest human on the planet. And every single type is so valid. It's not hierarchy, you guys. You're learning human design and your system as a human in the design to figure out how to function in the whole. So, actually, when you learn this, it's because a part of your soul is ready for synergy and not hierarchy. And hierarchy is not about like, well, us generators are cooler because we build a lot of things all day long. And it's not like I'm a projector, so I know things and I'm better than you, right? Like, this isn't teachings of the ego, but it definitely is. And I'm a firm believer of soul recognition. So I tell people success without the real self is actually failure. When you have everything outside of you, but you've left yourself at the back door, that never feels good. That's not actually sustainable. So when you look at your design, I want you to ask the question, if you're a reflector, focused on you, is my environment something I want to reflect in? Do I feel like I'm living in a sanctuary, or do I feel like I'm living in complete disappointment? And please understand that your disappointment is a reflection of how most humans feel when they don't hit the target. It's not that you're actually disappointed with yourself. You just need to start seeing yourself in a really refined way and know that you're designed to feel surprised all of the time. So imagine if you were actually the moon for a minute, and then all of a sudden you've got the sun coming up and it's about to peak. You'd be like, I'm so surprised. And it's excitement. It's not just excitement, it's pure surprise. But you don't feel that feeling when you're reflecting all of the things that went wrong. So you can be in the dark for two different reasons. One, you're hiding from society. It's a lot of energy. Or you can start to be more mindful that you're probably the most sensitive human on the planet. And we all have different sensitivities, right? But I want to give you the permission to reflect on only the things that feel good in the dark, because the other side of that, in the darkness, we find nurturing, we find comfort, we find solitude. So what you're really looking for when you live a different life and you're like, maybe I sleep all day and I'm up at night, it's because you love and you're allowed to have permission of solitude, of comfort and nurturing. And then you might ask, well, how do I operate in the world then? That will probably be a different teaching. For now, we just got to get okay with how our energy is designed to show up in the world. The last thing I'll say for you reflectors is that if someone is not okay with themselves, and you could see yourself as a mirror, and I want you to see how cool this is. If you are holding up a mirror and someone doesn't have self-love or self-understanding, and they come in contact with you and they're not loving what they see in the mirror, it's not personal. You are the reflector. So when they're with you and they're looking in the mirror and they're like, oh, I do not like what I see, that's what I mean by disappointment. You're experiencing what they feel about themselves, but I want you to hold the sacred neutrality of being a mirror, because so many of us don't see ourselves accurately, and how beautiful it is to look in the mirror. And we are responsible. Okay, it's not our rejector's problem to do this, but we are responsible for the story that we tell in the mirror. So that's what our reflectors do. So what I've done in just this one little line so far. So what we've done so far, what I've done is created a beautiful picture where you understand that each aura type plays a role in the grand picture. So I want you to think of art for a minute. You look at a beautiful, beautiful art piece. There are going to be shades of green, shades of blue. You get the picture. You have a specific shade that you're adding to that picture. And when you understand that your part matters and you don't need to feel jealousy or resentment or bitterness for how someone else does something, suddenly you're like, this is amazing. So what's really important here is that you write down on your piece of paper your type, okay? And then I want you to write down one thing you've learned so far on what you're going to start implementing today. Because when you start implementing this today, you're going to start to feel a lot more harmony in your life. When hustle shows up, I'm convinced that it's because we're trying to be a different type based on the people that are around us. And I invite you to just tell yourselves it's okay to slow down. It's okay to check in. It's okay to ask yourself questions and pause and go, does this add joy to my life? If you're a generator. If you're a manifesting generator, does this add more creativity and expansion to my life? If I am a manifestor, does this add more peace to my life? If I'm a projector, does this add the ability to share my guidance with others? And if I'm a reflector, does this add to my comfort, my need for reflection and nurturing? Okay. So the last the last thing I want to say about this is that your type, again, is your aura. So this isn't your body. This is energy that is literally unavailable to you in the physical eyes, but is felt by everyone else around you. Okay. So then we have under it what's called an authority. Authority. The reason this is so important is because knowing this information can literally change every part of you from the inside out. And I don't share that lightly. From my own experience, this has literally saved my life because I have had experiences where I didn't know and I knew how to act after learning this information. So if we look at the very word authority, most of us are like, Mom, Dad, tell me what to do. Friends, where should I go? Bishop, is this okay? Or we're constantly looking for these outside validations or different pieces of information to tell us what we should be doing. So authority is a word that I'm going to invite you to not see as dictatorial, and I'm going to invite you to not see it as control. Authority is the ability to lead yourself, period. Do you trust yourself? Yes or no? And if you don't, you can learn it. It's a skill. It's like going to the gym. So the authority, there's 8 different authorities. I'm not going to go too much into depth, but I want to give you at least one liner for each one of them so that you can understand why authority even matters to you. Like, what if you could actually learn in this training right now how to make correct decisions? Many of us don't trust ourselves because we believe somewhere along our journey we made the wrong decision, is what I have found in clients. However, decision making is really easy. I don't believe we're here to suffer. I don't believe we're here to learn the hard way. When you learn your authority, you understand, wow, I can actually trust that my authority, it has one purpose, only to lead me to truth and correct decisions. That's it. When you don't use your authority, that's when we tend to find pain. So we have sacral authority, and it goes, okay, so sacral authorities, you have to respond only to yes or no questions. So yes or no only. And it goes like this. Do you want to go to this restaurant? Yes might sound like, uh-huh. No might sound like, mm-mm. And it's a sound. If you hear, and it's a pause, that's because it's a soul's no. So we're not going to brainwash ourselves and try to make it a yes. It's a yes or it's a no. The one-liner for sacral authorities is your truth is always in the now. It's not from yesterday and it's not emotional. So I'm going to let you digest that. Okay, it's not emotional. You always know the answer in the moment. Okay, next we have our emotional authorities. Emotional authorities, you guys are so beautiful. You can tell I'm not one because I said you guys. You have what's called a wave. So I want you to think of an ocean, and it's a wave. Okay, so you have the ability to make decisions after you go through a wave. Your answers are never right now. Some people don't like that. They're like, well, why can't I just know? That's not what this training's for, but I'll tell you how it works. So emotional authorities, if you feel pressure, the answer is always no. If someone wants you to make a life-changing decision right now, the answer is always no. Because your wave is going to feel happy and then maybe sad and then maybe possibilities and expansion and then like depression and then disappointment and then, oh my gosh, the sunset again. So if it feels mostly correct, the answer is yes. And if it feels mostly wrong, the answer is no. But I'm using the word mostly because if it feels mostly correct when you think about it, it's a yes. And if it feels mostly incorrect, it's a no. So you're designed, let's not overcomplicate this, to trust your feelings. So you have to not be emotionally constipated, right? You have to be like, I feel this. Good, that means your authority is online. The last thing I'll say, your one-liners, emotional authorities. You make the correct decisions the best when you give yourself time and space. Most people say, well then Brie, how much time and space do I need? And I say, I'm not in your body, babe. That's for you to decide. You can start to trust it and the wave can be really damn fast. But if you don't trust it, you're of course going to wait for 10 years before you're like, I don't know about this, right? And it's okay. It's beautiful. So trust your feelings. Don't let anyone tell you that your feelings are incorrect. You're never incorrect about your feelings. And notice that both of these authorities are in the gut. So feelings and sacral authorities, Trust your gut. Okay, next let's think about this. I have to think. Oh, we have an ego authority. Your one-liner is that you need to really, really be okay with the fact that you are here to blurt out what you desire and only follow your desire. It's like, I see it like a little child. It's very innocent and it's like, I want pizza. And everyone's like, okay, we understand. Your authority is literally, in some people it's loud. That doesn't mean it has to be true for you. But imagine this. In a world that teaches you that ego might not be your friend, I totally disagree. Ego is actually here to show you what your heart desires. And you're here to answer the question, like, does this help me go in the direction of my heart's desires? And the world might tell you that you're selfish. Here's your one-liner. The more selfish you are about your heart, the more peace you are going to find. So you are heart-led. And most people call that ego-led because it's only thinking about their heart. Well, they're designed to think about only their heart. In fact, I think a lot of us are, right? That's why we have different authorities. Then we have a self-projected authority. A self-projected authority, your one-liner is that you need to literally talk it out to get it out, to hear yourself tell yourself the truth. So you're not calling your bestie and you're not saying, oh my gosh, this thing went wrong. And they're telling you what to do. So I've noticed that self-projected authorities, they usually wait for someone else, again, like most of us, to tell them what to do. You're actually talking and explaining it so that you can hear yourself. Have you ever been in the car ride with someone and you're like explaining something and then you're like, wow, I just answered my own question. I do that all the time. But self-projectors, you're actually, the more you talk about it, you'll hear yourself say, oh, that's the answer. I already know what the answer is. You need a whiteboard. You're going to need something to record on your phone with. You're going to need to like literally get it out on a journal. But when you go back through that information, I promise you, the answer is in what you just described. Okay? So you're going to start to trust your voice. That's what it means. Self-project means I'm going to trust my decisions are in what I express, and I'll hear it, right? Have you heard someone explain a job they're considering and everything in them is like, I don't want this job, but here's the benefits. And you're like, dude, you know you don't want that job. That's what self-projected authorities are. Okay, we've gone through 5. I have to think. So we've got sacral, splenic, thank you. So we have a splenic authority, and a splenic authority is usually conditioned because they are taught that they shouldn't be as spontaneous or that their spontaneity is maybe dangerous. But splenic authorities are like a deer. They're like eating grass, and then all of a sudden they hear something in the branches and they're like, gotta go. So the way their intuition works, it's really, really cool. Splenic is it's in the moment, number one, it's in the moment. And it needs to go at the moment it is told so. So it's very different than a sacral because it's not based on sound, but it is based on sound. So I've noticed our splenic authority friends, you have this connection to spirit, call it whatever you want to, but it's that voice that says turn left. And you're like, the grocery store is actually 2 miles straight. And the voice says turn left. And you're like, what the hell's left? And if you don't do it, and you just keep going to the grocery store, you might have found out that you could have helped someone in that car crash over there. You never know why. That's why splenic authorities don't trust themselves. They never know why they're being told what they're being told. So the one-liner for you is to act in the moment, to trust what you hear, and to start telling yourself literally through your nervous system, it is okay not to know why. And what you'll do is you'll start to understand that it is sometimes, in experiences and testimonials I've had of clients, it is sometimes life or death. It is that big. So trust that as a splenic authority, your spleen, your intuition, and every part of you knows the direction, okay? Let me think about this. We have 6 authorities. Oh, we have a G-center. So G-center authorities, you guys are literally meant to follow the decision that gives you your best expression. So what I mean by that is when you're making decisions, it's very similar to ego authority in my perception of how I see this. G-center is going to be navigating the world based on, does this enhance my self-expression? Does this allow me to be bigger and brighter and all of the pieces of me? So it's very driven by, does this build on who I am at an identity level, or does this make me confined to someone else's script? So when you look at that, you're really going to notice that when you make decisions, you're going to really run the filter through, does this add to the direction I want to take? Or is this a direction that someone else is wanting me to take? Because you'll know when it doesn't feel good. I've worked enough times with people that have a G-center direction, and they're like, my heart wants to go this way, but everyone else thinks that this is my direction, right? And society as a whole is usually taught that. Like their parents are a doctor, so you should naturally be a doctor. That's incorrect. The G center knows that I will follow my own individual expression and I will continue to go in the direction that enhances my identity. That's the easiest way to say that. So what you've just learned so far is that everything in your aura type is trying to help you. And what you've just learned is that when you make correct decisions based on your authority, you really don't have to struggle in this lifetime because you'll start to, number one, trust yourself. Number two, you'll know what's correct for you. And then number three, you'll start to find more joy and harmony because you're not on the struggle bus. You're not on this pain path where you feel like you have to learn what you don't want so that you can get back on track with what you do want. So I operate based on, does this choice add to where I'm going? Or is this choice based on the programming or conditioning of how other people have taught me how to make decisions? This is the number one skill set in business. For those that are watching this and that have a business, you don't have a business problem, you have an authority problem. Because you're not trying to be the authority of the outside world before you can be an authority of the decisions that you're able to make. People are looking to leaders who are not just in integrity with themselves, but they're able to be in this beautiful space of, I'm going to return you back to you. That's real leadership. I'm going to turn you back to you because you do know what's best and your body has always been talking to you. You just didn't know there was like a language for the soul. Does that make sense?
What about no internal authority?
Thank you. I knew we were missing one. So no internal authority is similar to environmental. So sometimes online you'll see environmental authority or no internal authority. And there's two ways to look at this. So I'll give you the most simple, clear answer I have found as truth. But it means that you need to either A, get it out, just like a self-projected, because it's not internal. It needs to be external. That's why it says no internal. It doesn't mean you don't have an authority. It just means you do really well when you have a soundboard and you can reflect with something outside of you. I actually believe it's more to do with the environment where the truth can land upon you. The way I like to describe this it's like when you're having a conversation with God or someone that you love so much and you're like, I just need to know the answer. No internal authority means if you create enough space for it, it will appear. But you have to train yourself as a no inner authority to look at the signs. So this is really key, and I think it serves us all. No inner authority. I want you to ask a question that you've been wanting to know really bad, and I want you to write it down. And I want you to ponder that because contemplation is the fastest way to resolution. So contemplation is the fastest way to resolution. If you have a no internal authority, I want you to start to see where life and your experiences and your environment has actually been giving you the answer, but you're so in here that you can't even see the answer has been right in front of you all along. So I hope that explains it correctly, but choose your environment wisely. And when you feel like there's too much chaos in the world, go take a hike, go sit by a river, go get in the bathtub, go do something that allows the psyche to calm down because then it will just come to you. And I love it because this authority is very receptive in nature. It's not taking in everyone's opinions, but it does hear based on what it sees and senses, right? Have you ever said, show me a blue jay or show me this specific thing and I'll know? No internal authorities, you're already experiencing it. You just didn't know it, that was your path. So thank you. Okay, I want to teach you one last thing, and then we're going to close out this beautiful workshop because there's a lot to digest here. The last thing I'm going to go into is really just so you'll see that there's definitions here. I'm not going to go into that as much as I want to get into the profile, okay? So there are numbers 1 through 6, and they can flip-flop. So there's 12 profiles, okay? But it's numbers 1 through 6, and I'm going to tell you if you have a 1 or a 2 or a 3 or 4 or a 5 or a 6. Profiles are only built on those first 6 numbers. That's the foundation, okay? So I'm not going to tell you all of the logistics. I'm going to tell you enough where if you're like, I have a 1 somewhere in here, cool. I can tell you one thing about that. So if you have a 1 anywhere down here, your profile is really about your needs. So let's keep it really simple. If you don't like what words show up right here, huck the words out. I could care less what the words mean, okay? Words don't have to define you. Put them in the blender. Who cares? But I want to at least tell you what your needs are so that you can stop looking for hustle in the outside world to meet your need, and you can put on your own oxygen mask and be like, oh, that feels so good. So if you are a 1 or you have a 1 anywhere in your profile, you are so hungry for knowledge. You are the anchor of everyone around you. You are the foundation, okay? The foundation. And the reason that you feel like an investigator is because you're always consciously aware that there's more, that you can research more. You're hungry for answers. The way to meet your need is to read and study and research the hell way more than you do. You probably don't meet that need enough. Sometimes you might feel inadequate or not enough, but it's simply because your brain is so hungry to investigate all of the possibilities that are out there. So one lines, you're the foundation, you're the researcher, you're the investigator, you're also the original. So if you have a 1 anywhere over here, you are so original that you're probably the person that has to do it your way more than you realize. So you're not stubborn and you're not crazy. You just know that the truth has to come from within. That's your one-liner. That's all I'm going to give you. If you have a 1, the truth needs to come from you, not from your parents, not from your friends. If you have a 2 in your profile, you crave, like you freaking crave intimacy. You love the reflection process. You love the biofeedback of another individual. It's like a sacred marriage, because if you have a 2 somewhere in your profile, you don't always see yourself, literally. And I think that's what keeps us 2s like really humble. But 2s love to have them and one other person. That's it. So if you hide in the back of a restaurant, you're not like a recluse and you're not reserved. You just love the intimacy of me and one other person. Intimacy is a need. The one-liner I would give you is to tell you that you need way more nature and way more natural expression than what you're giving yourself. Nature is the cure for line 2. You need it way more than you've ever been taught. Line 2s, you're also very natural. So sometimes you feel wrong for not going after skill sets that you actually don't need because you naturally might already have them. So fun fact, 2, you need to understand that a lot of what you do just comes natural and you don't have to play the rat race to go get it, okay? If you have a 3 line in your profile, you guys are so freaking fun. You don't even know how cool and fun you are because you're like, well, isn't everyone this way? And I'm like, no. So, and I would know. So if you're a 3 line, you need to have a lot of variety. Like you need to have a lot of diversity. You need to have a lot of experiences. If you're a 3 line and you're not having enough experiences that are new, dude, you're not depressed. You just didn't know that you were supposed to have way more experiences than sitting at an office job all day. That is not cool. So when you have a 3 line, you are the people that want to not just know the stove is hot, but you want to actually like touch it and then go, ooh, that was hot. Yeah, you had a direct experience with it, so now you know. So you're here to live life in the most childlike wonder there is, because you know that when you have an experience with something, it doesn't just teach you, but you feel like it's the actual learning process that your soul came to come with. I would also say variety. I'm going to keep it there. There's your one-liner, and play, lots of play. If you have a 4 in your profile anywhere, doesn't matter if it's the beginning or the end, you are like seriously driven by service, you are driven by communication, and you are one of the most focused people in the world. So 4s are, I like to call them our lone wolves, because they love to be in the center of a group and then they like love to isolate for days on end. You may not have that pattern, and that's beautiful. What you need to know is that every single thing that you do comes from your heart, and you need to know that service is your greatest like need ever. So with that, it comes the responsibility to serve your damn self instead of giving away everything and then being pissed it doesn't come back. 4s are also like about networking. The strongest word here is network. So you're not going to want to just have 2 people hanging out. You're going to want to be like, well, where's the whole city in this party I'm having? You literally love more is better, okay? I also want you to think of a foundation, like a table. If you have a table and they have 4 legs, that feels really solid. So let's not overburden ourselves with how much we're serving when it actually feels like sacrifice. But one of the biggest needs you can do for yourself is to fulfill your own needs in the heart first, and then you'll just be in overflow, okay? But networking is really important. You're like a bridge, okay? That's all I'm going to give you. Then you have a line 5. Line 5s, you guys are the practical people. You guys have solutions. You're very left brain. It's not that you're not fun, because you are, but you're the guy that we call when our tire goes flat and the rest of us are like, who gives a damn? And our 5s are like, this is actually what needs to be solved right now. And the rest of us are like, okay. So 5s are practical, very solution oriented. You're actually known as what's called the leader. So I don't want to, again, put anyone in the hierarchy spot by any means. But 5, you really do have an answer. And so sometimes your learning journey is learning how to say no instead of always saying yes, because you're always saying yes because you really do know. Okay, so I encourage you to find things that you can fix that bring you joy, but don't always try to fix things or people just because you have a need to fix. So your greatest need as a 5, besides leadership and practical solutions is to fix things. So, and this isn't just for guys, by the way. None of this is just like gender focused. So if you're a 5, you're kind of the person that wants to always be fixing something. So solve bigger problems, not just your life. Solve bigger problems than how do I make more money? Solve bigger problems. If you have a 6 anywhere in your profile, 6s are beautiful just as well because they see the farthest than any of us. 6 is like, I'm casting a vision that is so out there, so grandiose, and it's like big. They're the vision casters. They're also our teachers. They're also the ones that have the most wisdom. So they're not going after what's practical. This is where you start to see people's needs change, okay? But 6s are the ones that say, let me sit you down and tell you all the wisdom I have. They're also the ones that I would say is actually the script writer for the end. So the 6, there's only 6 numbers. 1 is the foundation. 6 is the like autobiography. Like this is how it's working. This is how it's not going so well. So in a lot of ways, 6s have this characteristic of a reflector in some ways because they can see things that other people don't see. And you're not delusional. Turns out you're supposed to be okay with casting dreams, and really surrender and patience is the key here because your vision is so big that if it doesn't happen overnight, you're like, what's wrong with me? Nothing. Freaking learn patience, okay? So if you're a 6 anywhere in your profile, you're like the bird on the wire watching society operate, and you're like, why are they doing that? Why are they doing that? Sometimes we're really judgmental. I just called myself out. I have a 6, but it's only because we have a vision that could be so much better than it is right now. So the reason I teach you about these numbers in your profile is so that you can begin to touch some of your most basic fundamental needs. When you do that, you're not just going to understand yourself, but you're going to have the most epic relationships. You're going to have the most joyous life because now you're going, wow, I now know that it's okay to be this way and I'm not wrong. You stop fixing and you start living. Too many of us spend most of our energy and our willpower on fixing ourselves, and human design is like, wait a minute, pause. Let's not fix ourselves like we think we need to. Let's actually just start living. But we're not going to start living until we realize nothing is wrong with us. So far what you've learned is that you have a very specific aura. You have a very specific way of making correct decisions. You have a very specific way of obviously having needs. And what I haven't told you is that those needs will actually fulfill many, many places inside of the workforce, inside of business and entrepreneurship, because finally you're understanding that your skill set was just given to you at birth. And in a world that tells you that you need to earn everything, I'm telling you, human design says you have everything. But you're out there saying, well, they have this and I don't. And I'm saying, maybe we can flip the script. Maybe we can say, well, I have this, and that's what makes me a badass, and that's why I'm cool, and start to have soul recognition fulfill us from the inside out. So without that, I think that life is pretty boring. So I'm going to encourage you guys to write down what you learned today in today's training. I'm going to invite you guys to start looking at where you're really cool, not where you're flawed, and then what is the one thing you took away from this training in this class today. Okay, so I'm going to invite you guys to put it inside of the chat. I actually do want to know, what is your type? What is your profile? What is your authority? And I want to really genuinely connect with you. What is the part that really just stuck out the most for you? And inside of the comments, let's build synergy and start to create the revolution that who we are is more than magnetic. Who we are is more than beautiful and already curated perfectly, okay? This class was really intended to get you out of hustle. And so far you've learned that harmony doesn't come when the world gives us something. Harmony comes when we recognize the things we've longed for, like literally longed for. Now, I know some of you are going to be like, okay, Bri, that's amazing. I'm still looking at a beautiful picture with lots of colors and lots of dots and lots of chakras in astrology. Human design is literally a 6-system compartmentalization. That's a big word. But it has multiple systems within the system. So I'm going to ask you to break that down. For those that want to go into their full authenticity, who want to change their life from the inside out, I'm going to walk you through that. So inside of the show notes, you're going to see a link. It's going to show you exactly how to work with me. I've curated a beautiful space where Universal Love Academy walks you through an entire year of deconditioning, destructing all of the places you felt wrong, bad, broken, maybe even not whole, and really start to build your self-esteem from the inside out based on the authentic pieces that are already there. So inside of that training, let's say, or the academy, I'm going to break down every single concept specific to your chart. We're going to lay down the foundation on how to create a lifestyle that feeds you back We're going to start to train yourself how to work within the energetic system of your own nature. And then we're going to start to leverage that. So most people, they want to leverage the outside in. They want the world to give them the success. They want the world to give them the fame. They want the world to give them the riches. And I'm saying we're actually going to go from the inside out, and we're going to build a system that is so stable from within to create an identity that doesn't just really fulfill who you are, but it serves the whole, the masses, because your impact is so much bigger than just yourself. So I'm going to invite you into Universal Love Academy. The link will be inside of the show notes. And really, if you take this journey, I just want you to know ahead of time, you're not just going to impact you. You're going to impact your family. You're going to impact people around you that didn't even know you started this wave, because they're going to say, I want that too. You seem really chill. You seem really relaxed. You seem like you don't care. And it's like, yeah, that's what harmony is. It's playing inside of a beautiful song, and you're just dancing because you're so lit up. So I'm going to leave it at that. And I'll see you on the inside.